All right, what's going on, everybody? Isaac Fleischer here, and welcome to another iHoopsFL interview. Now, before we begin, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at iHoopsFL. I post all these interviews that I do, whether it's with high school players, coaches, members of the media. Post all the interviews and all the best clips on my Instagram at iHoopsFL. And for you guys that maybe want to see any of the other work that I've done around the world of basketball, you can find all that on my Twitter at iHoopsRecruits. I post some of the articles I write for a company down here in South Florida, along with some recent recruitment info I've been getting from some of these guys that I've recently interviewed. But anyways, let me bring on our guest right now. What's going on, my guy? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. But anyways, let's get right to this interview. And I understand. So you chose to reclass and team up with DeSante Bowen at what is it, Worcester Academy?
Worcester Academy, yeah.
That I don't understand. That's actually unbelievable. I definitely said it wrong. Does everybody on your team know what's called that, or are you like one of the few?
No, the kids on the team are pretty familiar with it. I don't know. It's probably just the Massachusetts thing. The spelling of it kind of makes sense to us, I guess.
Yeah, I honestly I'm pretty sure DeSante told me it's Worcester or something like that. But I guess I gotta get myself prepared mentally to say something that does not look like a ways. But again, so you decided to reclass and team up with DeSante Bowen at Worcester Academy. So how well do you think you guys will do next year, having you and DeSante, just two stars teaming up for a high school basketball season?
Yeah, no, I think the expectations are really high with guys like me and Sante and a lot of other high-level players that are around us. And I think that the fact that me and Sante play for the same AU team with BABC and we've known each other a long time and we've hung out kind of over the summer and trained together in certain parts like that. I think all that comes together and it's going to help us just, kind of gel better as a group. We're both leaders, but we kind of understand how to sacrifice for the team. So I think that's another big part of it. And just the IQ that we both bring on top of the skill. And I think we complement each other very well. So I think, the expectations should be high and rightfully so.
And can you kind of add on a little bit more how you guys complement each other on the basketball court that makes you guys such a dynamic duo?
Yeah, Sante is a really smooth guard. He likes to push the ball, and I think one of my strengths as a kind of mobile big is being able to run the floor well. So he has good vision, and him pushing the ball and me running the floor is going to be hard to stop in transition. Another thing is he's very patient and he plays at his own pace, which I think is good for the teammates around him, especially myself. Just running off ball screens, so for the open shot or working two-man game pick and rolls with him is something we do a lot, just because there's so many options off of that with how we kind of understand the game of basketball.
And I know there's a lot of good basketball players in that Northeast United States area. But do you think that you and Asante are probably the best duo, at least in Massachusetts, for basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think right now. I would say so. I just think that we just complement each other so well, and we're never really butting heads, and we're always on the same page. So, and I think that along with the talent kind of makes us a tough deal to stop.
And how long have you been playing with him? Exactly. I know you played some AAU. How you guys pretty much grown up playing together, or was it kind of a little bit recently, or just kind of talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably been 3 years, 2 to 3 years that we've been playing together, whether it be, practices or playing up, because he's a year older than me. But, yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but like I said, it didn't take very long for us to kind of get our chemistry going because, once the ball gets checked, I think we're in the same mindset on the basketball court. But just even this summer, we went to the beach a couple of times together, and just building a friendship is important for any teammate.
And taking back to 3 years ago, like what you said, or at least around 3 years ago, when you guys did meet, how were you able to build just such a great bond, at least on the basketball court?
Yeah, Sante's always been a big name So I think coming into it, I wouldn't say intimidated, but I just kind of felt like I had my place and he had his place. But I think that pretty quickly into our practices and workouts, I kind of showed that what I can do, and he respected us for that. And so we just kind of stayed in touch and just kept, working out together and talking about, what we're gonna do with school and stuff like that. So.
And that's kind of crazy. You said that how you were like intimidated by him and all that stuff because even for myself too. I mean, I'm like usually intimidated by a lot of the guys that I interview and all that stuff. Like kind of before I interview them, if I someone to send me your Instagram profile and said, "Would you be intimidated by TJ Power?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, for sure." Like, look at this guy's offers. Like, what? Like, I am not in the same conversation as this guy. So, how are you? Just able to break that intimidation wall.
Yeah, I think it's just about, I think when you're not in your comfort zone, that's where you grow. And I think coming into it, you got to kind of throw the intimidation out the window pretty fast once the game gets going, because you can't play with that. It's got to be confidence at all times. And so I think intimidation off the court might be one thing, but I think as soon as you step in the court, you got to think that you're just as good or better than everyone else in the court. And I think that's something that a mindset that I have on the court. So.
And I don't want to embarrass you anyway, but I was wondering, maybe I could relate to someone in this. But like, are there some guys? I guess on the court, like what you said. I mean, you're not really scared of anybody, when you're playing basketball. But these off the court, like, are there any big time guys? You need to share any names that you may, be a little bit like intimidated by?
I mean, not really. I think like now social media, people think that clout kind of plays into that big factor, but I just think that like I look at people as human beings and what they can do on the basketball court. So I think like the intimidation off the court is just kind of like a external thing where you just, like you said, look at their Instagram and see how many followers, and you're like, wow, this guy's a big deal. But when I show up to the court, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking, I gotta go play against this guy and do my best. So.
Definitely. And I'm gonna ask this. This isn't a plain question, but I'm sure you won't mind asking this. But if you look at like the picture of yourself over there, I mean, I can't even recognize you. You look like maybe like my dad showing me a picture of him playing basketball. I'm looking at yourself now. Your hair is just not like that anymore. So what?
Yeah.
Kind of gave you the inspiration to change up your hairstyle a little bit?
Yeah. So I was at that picture right there. I was at a Catholic school, and they didn't really let you grow your hair over your ears. So I had it trimmed last year, and I've actually had it like that for a long time. But once COVID started and the barbers shut down, I kind of grew it out, and especially in the summer, I kind of liked it, so I just kind of kept it. And I got it trimmed a couple times, but nothing too serious. And now I figured I'd just keep it and see how it works out. But
yeah, that's crazy. So the school, like they said you can't, grow your hair that long. Like, was that all like really annoying? Or and what I guess, were there any other like weird rules that they had you guys follow as well?
Yeah, I think their kind of justification for that is just like it's not necessarily the rule itself. It's just kind of like following directions when you're told to. But we had to keep our phones in our locker during the day. Was another one. It was all boys Catholic school, so it was typical what you would see like in a movie with the strictness of it. But I got used to it pretty fast, and I think it kind of forces you to socialize more with your classmates, which I thought was a good thing too. So.
And are you now is Worcester, is that an all or is that a private school? I'm assuming it is because it's like an academy. But is it like an all boys school over there as well?
No, it's co-ed. There's girls and boys, but it's a prep school, so yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you've ever had like if you're like back to school, normally or any of that stuff. But how do you kind of like the change, from going to an extremely strict, probably Catholic school, what you said, to now, another private school, but maybe I'm just going to assume it's not as strict.
Yeah, I mean it's been different. One of the things I liked about it was the dress code. It's definitely relaxed. I can wear hoodies and in sweatpants and stuff like that. Opposed to my old school, I was wearing like, a sport coat and a tie and stuff. It's definitely been different, just a change, but I think it's been for the better, especially with COVID, just feeling comfortable, in school and stuff like that, and just kind of having your freedom because that's what prep schools are for. They're kind of for preparing you for college, and in college, there's no one there kind of guiding you along the way. You kind of got to individualize and do things yourself. So I think that's another way that they kind of prepare you for that.
For sure. And before you get to college, you're going to have to get through a few more high school basketball seasons left. So what are your goals for this season?
Yeah, this season, if we have one, I would say just kind of getting the most out of it that I can as an individual is that would be one of my individual goals, is just getting the most out of it and improving my game. And I don't really worry about points or stuff like that, because I think that stuff kind of comes natural. And whatever I got to do to help my team win is what I'm going to do. And if it's scoring, then it's scoring. If it's not, then it's not. We have a good team this year, so I think goals as a team would be to win the knapsack championship, because I think we have a team that could do that. And they lost last year in the championship, and I think we got out and got some guys like myself that can kind of bring Worcester to the first championship. So
the knapsack, that's not the prep league, the prep school league thing, is it?
Yeah, it is. There's 3 classes, so we're in class AA.
Okay, so is that so then there's also like NMH and Brewster, like they're in the knapsack as well, but a different class.
Yeah, so Brewster and NMH are in AAA, and Worcester were AA with like Cushing and St. Andrews and schools like that.
Okay, and I want to bring it back to last season again, just because you said like a little bit stuff about intimidation off the court, and all those fans behind you. I mean, that's all off the court. Were you playing in a lot of sort of atmospheres, and if so, how did you like those? And maybe if you're maybe top it, I guess I don't know how you say it. It's not like a stage fright, but I guess crowd shy, we'll call it. Like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love playing in big crowds. Last year, going to a private school, we played in like a public league, and so a lot of schools didn't like us very much. So every game, every away game was still packed. Our fans traveled well, so it was always a loud atmosphere going back and forth. And I think it just feeds into me, whether it's positive or negative. Just the noise of it and seeing the people in the crowd supporting you is a big deal. And even like just an example of that, our championship game was probably the most people I've seen in the gym, or played in a game with the most people I've seen in the gym in a long time. And I hit the game-winning free throws in the championship. So I think, just kind of having that like Mamba mentality, just to kind of block everything out and focus on yourself.
And I mean, unless the Mamba mentality is like, an instinct or a gene, I'm sure it's like super hard. Even though I saw like a study when I was reading like Scholastic News, like, like elementary school kid, that I think more NBA players, like they hit free throws better when there's noise in the background than when it's dead silent. So maybe, it's just like the truth, but how were you able to build up, that Mamba mentality, what you said, and be able to tune out all that noise when you had to hit those clutch free throws to win not just any game, but the championship?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, all that noise, you never really hear anything specific. Like I'd get home and my sister would be like, "Hey, did you hear people chanting this?" Or my mom would be like, "Hey, someone yelled that at you during the free throw." And I was like, "No, I honestly didn't hear it. I just heard the ball dribbling on the floor." And I think it's just kind of a natural thing. It's not something that you can kind of replicate in a practice, just because, you don't have that many people yelling at you. But I think it kind of came natural just to kind of zone in and focus on my task, which was hitting the free throws. So.
And I want you to explain it to me, because you said, like you're able to feed off the crowd's energy and all that stuff. But then now you're saying like you're very zoned in and you don't hear anything. So what do you kind of mean by that? Because those are like two, pretty controversial statements.
Yeah, well, I think like the thing is with free throw, you're not going to get too hyped up. You're not going to be running around and jumping before you go shoot the free throw, because it's kind of a personal thing, but I think like, whether it's catching a dunk or, hitting a big three and looking at the crowd and seeing your friends cheering for you, something like that is a situation where, just the sheer noise of the crowd kind of gets your adrenaline going, and you move better and play better with that.
And the one thing I'm wondering about the crowds, because I'm sure I'm just gonna assume you have a basketball coach on your team, and I'm also gonna assume that you guys run at least one play a game. How are you able to hear what your coach is telling you? While I was still able to view the crowd. Because I remember I think my JV basketball coach was getting pissed at my team because they weren't listening to him, and they were getting mad because it's JV, so you're not playing in front of a packed crowd, and he was getting like pissed at my team for not listening to him and all that stuff. So how are you able to, I guess, somewhat get the energy from the crowd, but then also when your coach is telling you, hey, run this play, you hear him and do it?
Yeah, so once the playoffs started, we actually ran into that problem first game of the playoffs. It wasn't really something that we had thought about, and so that first game was kind of choppy. We had some plays with like numbers, so he was throwing up like the numbers on his hands. But by the second game, our assistant coach, what we did was we took a marker and wrote the name of the play on a piece of paper. And our assistant coach is a big guy. He would stand up and hold it up. So like while we're running down the court, we can see it because we couldn't hear the coach with all the crowd. So I think that was helpful for us.
And I know you see this stuff in football when unless you don't watch football, but I barely watch. Well, now I barely watch because I'm so busy. But when they hold up like the four emojis or something like that, you think maybe in basketball that we might start to see that soon?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky because like in football, especially with the cameras and stuff, a lot of those play cards with the emojis and stuff like that are just kind of deception. So it depends, it becomes like a frequent thing where people are studying each other's plays, and maybe. But I think right now, just especially at like the high school level, I didn't think it was anything too serious where someone would, look at our play and kind of know what it is.
Yeah, I thought you think. Wait, is that why? I thought it was just because like just to pretty much give them a play. Because I'm assuming like unless film is like that. I thought when if you're watching film, they're not going to have the coach and you're able to figure out what play he's saying and kind of like I feel like that's almost cheating. Like that's like spying. You know how the whole like I think that'd be spying unless like is that when you guys watch film, like are you able to figure out what play is which from the other school's signs and all that stuff?
Yeah, so like with football, I actually played football my freshman year. The sign, like the emoji and stuff, some schools treat it differently, but it's kind of like they make it seem like one of those pictures is the play they're about to run, and then you say, all right, that picture is this play, and then next time they'll say the same picture and it's a different play. So it's just kind of to take your focus off the actual game. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think people are gonna start spying or anything like that. But I definitely think like when we watch film, we might come up with like a general name for what the team's running. Like if it's a high post, low post thing, we might yell that out in the game, but it wouldn't be like the exact name of the play, but just kind of the formation of it.
For sure. And moving on in the interview, how has the recruitment process been?
Yeah, we touched on it earlier. Just when I was in the class 22, it was definitely picking up. After that live period started, it was kind of crazy just taking calls every day and learning about different schools in different parts of the country and stuff like that. But once I reclass, it was almost a good thing because I kind of got to go quiet again and just focus on basketball. And I'm in a good place right now with offers, and then schools still going through my coach, stuff like that. So the recruitment process has been good. It's definitely not a burden. Some people see all the calls and all the time that you have to take away, but it's kind of what us basketball players work for, is just to be in that position.
Yeah, not gonna lie, you scared me for a second because you're like we previously asked that. That was like off. Like I thought I asked that question like on camera, and I was like, oh man, I'm hoping I didn't, unless I completely blanked out. But I'm pretty sure I never repeated that question. But yeah, you for a second, like I got so scared, I was like, oh, that's gonna be so embarrassing. But when you did reclass, So like, wasn't it pretty much, your recruitment's going off, and then all of a sudden you reclass, and then it kind of slowed down. So why would you think that's the right decision? Because in the end, like, even though it's not about offers, like in the end, it's to get yourself more exposure and get yourself out there. No one's going to reclass because they want themselves to, not get as much exposure and all that stuff. So why do you think that was the right decision if it almost slowed down your recruitment in a way?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, and I explained this to coaches when they called me and they said, why are you doing this? And I said, for me, it's not about offers. It's not about like having a higher ranking. It's about my development as a player. And I think, the making the decision to reclass was suitable for, the situation that's going on right now with COVID. Just to have some control in this time of change, in case we don't have a season this year. I didn't want to have to lose my junior year. And then even with the UIBL, I didn't want to have to lose my last year with that. And so what I did with the reclass is just kind of take a step back and say, all right, you know what, let's be patient with this. Schools will still be there. Everything will still be there once I get back to finishing my sophomore year. And I said, I'm still going to take all the right classes. My junior year credits will be done. So if we do play and I do have some success, and I do kind of get some attention, then I can always just reclass back up. But it's just kind of having that option to do either was my thinking with it.
And just out of curiosity, so when you're like in school, or do you go to school in person, or is it online?
Yeah, so we go in person every other week. But like this week, I'm online.
Okay, well, like anyways, when you're doing school, whether it's online or in person, like, so are you with people that are in the class of 2022, in your classes? Then I guess it's on the basketball court. You're 2023.
Yeah. So in class, I'm usually with the 22s, because it's like junior level classes. But it kind of changed because I transferred. And so some of the curriculum is different, stuff that I would learn as a junior at my old school was already taught, to a freshman class at Worcester. So maybe I might have a class with freshmen or sophomores, or because it's kind of a college atmosphere where they allow you to go back and get whatever you need done, no matter like who the class is with or what grade.
Oh, okay, so you're pretty much taking, like, you could pretty much take, it's 4 classes. You could take a class for mostly freshmen at that school, mostly sophomores. Like, you could pretty much take a class that's for a majority every single grade if you really wanted to. That's kind of
like
how it works.
Yeah, like I have a class with a 22, a 23, and a 24. Just because the varying levels of when you were taught what subject and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty interesting. And I just want you to touch on again, because I mean, it just is so interesting just how, because not many people, or I don't even know anybody where they were in 2022 and they didn't just like reclass before the June 15th date. Like, you reclassed after it. So I honestly, I want you to take us through the day when you decided, I'm no longer going to be in the class of 2022. I'm going to be in the class of 2023. Were you able to feel that like big change immediately with the recruitment and all those new rules, and now that you did switch classes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of I wouldn't say a setback, but definitely a change with, not taking calls every day and stuff like that. I think like the day I made the decision, it was more making sure that I'm going to go to the right place that will support me in my decision in reclassing. And I think I did that. And, just making sure there's an open line of communication between me and my coach and my father and my AU coach and the schools that are recruiting me that way. Schools don't see it as like a difficult process to go through my coach. It's simple. It's just one more step. So I don't think, I mean, it might have hurt me a little, but I think it's something that time will heal. And by the time that, the season ends, the school year ends, it's just going to be right back to where it was. And this way, the reasoning for doing it after June 15th is because I wanted to wait kind of last minute to see what the school's plans were for the season with COVID. And, no decisions were made, but, I just wanted to make sure, just in case there was a decision, that I wasn't going to go to a school that didn't have a season, or we're going all online or something like that. And another big thing is just having that live period where I can kind of build a platform with the coaches and get to know them. That way next year, I have a head start on kids with getting to know the coaches in the programs and stuff like that.
And just out of curiosity, on that day, how were the coaches able to find out, or were you getting some messages from coaches and you maybe have to here, Dad, you got to tell him that they can't text anymore, or did you send like a group text with all the coaches? Like how were they able to find out?
Yeah. So I talked to my parents when I made the decision, and I didn't really want to do like a big Instagram post with long letter in my notes and stuff like that, because I don't really like to hype myself up that much. So I made a post on my Instagram story saying, thank you, St. John's, Worcester Academy Class 23. And I put it on Twitter as well. And I had my AU coach tell people and my high school coach tell people. And I just kind of did it one by one. Coaches would still text me, like, not knowing. And I would just say, like, hey, coach, I'm a 23 now. And I would send him the number to my high school coach. And I'd say, like, if you want to talk, just go through him. And, no schools had a problem with that. So it was pretty smooth.
Yeah, there definitely is nothing wrong with that. And it's honestly, it's interesting how it seems like almost this, I guess kind of didn't benefit your recruitment right now, but technically most people are reclassing because, it's going to get them more offers. I mean, you're saying I don't care about the ranking. I mean, there's a better chance, you're going to be ranked in 2023 now than you are in 2022. So I guess if you really think about it, this pretty much is just going to help you even more because you got a lot more than most kids. So I guess just making this move, I mean, it's just gonna, you can maybe get some accomplishments that you maybe never thought of achieving, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting. The possibilities that could happen. I think another thing that comes with reclassing is if you take advantage of it, you can get a lot stronger, a lot faster, and develop your game more. So, at the end of it, the extra year shows up in the long run, just having more maturity.
For sure. And moving on your recruitment, which schools are contacting you the most? Well, out of the ones that have offered, just out of the ones that have offered, which ones are contacting you the most?
Yeah, the ones that have been contacting me the most would probably be UConn, Providence, Boston College, Miami. I talked to Iowa a lot. Yeah, mostly those schools. But like I said, being a 23, sometimes it might just be like a quick check-in with my coach and saying like, hey, how's TJ doing in school or practice, and my coach can take care of it. Or maybe if it's something more important, my coach will say like, hey, call me at this time and I'll pass the phone over to TJ. But yeah, those are the schools that have kind of been calling me the most.
And what about the ones that just haven't offered you yet? Who's showing the heaviest interest?
Yeah, I would say right now it's probably Virginia Tech, Stanford, South Carolina, and Notre Dame have been calling my coaches the most. I had a Zoom call with Stanford back when I was 22, which was really good and really helpful, and I got to know their coaching staff and stuff like that. And I'm a high academic kid, so I think that would be a good fit too.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know with Stanford, I'm sure, did they ask you for your transcripts? Was that the first thing they had you do?
Yeah. So one of their coaches was actually a coach at NMH. I think it's his second year out there, maybe third. He texted me asking for my transcript, but that's kind of why I stress having good grades, because you never know when you're going to get that text saying, hey, let's see how you're doing in school. And I'm just fortunate to have a good transcript.
And how are you able to balance out school and basketball? Because at least for me, with schooling these interviews and going to a lot of basketball games, I really honestly I think I could balance it out, thinking about it, but I just kind of put on a lot on my plate. I really just feel like I can't handle all the schoolwork and all the college classes that I'm taking. So how are you able to balance it out? With you probably training every day, or you're hopefully training every day, and with the practices. Then once the season starts, you got that going on too. So how are you able to deal with all that? Plus, all the difficult classes you're in as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a grind. And I think the transition was pretty hard, going to a new school and kind of filling out each teacher and seeing what they want in their assignments and stuff like that. But I think I'm kind of back on my feet now, and my grades are going up. But I think the biggest thing is just time management for an athlete, and just kind of being able to look at your week and say, all right, this might be a night where I need to stay up till midnight, doing my work so that I can go to this practice on Thursday or something like that. And just planning ahead and limiting procrastination as much as possible. And I think that's why like online school has been difficult, because sitting at home can be pretty boring. But I think it just trains you even more to grind through it and plan out your time wisely.
And see, that's the one thing. Like you said, staying up till midnight, even though I've been going to bed, well, now I've been going to bed, 12:30, and I'm like, I'm proud of myself for that. But you're saying, staying up till like that's the one problem. I feel like, if you have, good time management, the most important thing is sleep. It's not I'm going to stay up, till 3 in the morning because I want to get my homework done so that, I could play in my game tomorrow. Like that's just stupid. You need the sleep. So I guess is that kind of, because everybody has their own little sacrifice almost. Some people, maybe it's like, I have to wake up super early to get my stuff done, or
Yeah.
others like I'll have to, sometimes I have to miss a practice for schoolwork. For you said like you sometimes stay up late. I forgot what my question was, but I don't know. It's just so like that. I think that's what makes it the hard part. I think it's the bedtime, like, because that's why you can't have good time management, but then like stay up late, 'cause then it's not good time management. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes both ways. Just sometimes you can only do like so much in a certain like hour period. Like my typical days is wake up, around 6:30, go to school, have practice till 6 o'clock. Come home, eat dinner, and then I'll probably start homework around 7:30, 8. And depending on the workload, Worcester's a challenging school, and I'm in hard classes, so I think like it's almost for a normal student, they could go to bed at 9 and wake up and just do the homework the next night. But for me, it's like, all right, I might have a longer practice, or I might have a lift and a practice. I might not get home till 9. So it's almost like work that might not even be due the next day. I might have to grab it early and say, all right, you know what, I need to do this now so that tomorrow I can go to both the lift and the practice and stuff like that. So I think it's like, it's almost advocating for yourself in a way that, you space out the days that you grind, because even on those days where you have lift and basketball, mentally you'll just be exhausted, and you want to put your best effort into that work, and it's hard to do that when all you can think about is just going to sleep. So
And maybe it's different for you because you go to a private school, so it's, I guess, easier to do that. But for me, like I can't get ahead on work because, one, like my teachers, if there is assignments up, like they pretty much, like, one of my teachers will put up his assignments, but then and it looks like a ton of work the whole week, and it's like over the weekend I have, like, some stuff to do, but I can get the work done already, get ahead. Then I press on it. It's like they tease me. They show the assignment. They're like scaring me for the week, so I'm like, all right, let me try getting ahead. And they lock every single assignment, so I can't start it during the week. But just but even if I did, like, the problem with getting ahead, because I used to do that too, but then I started like not knowing what I was doing when I was getting ahead. So how are you able to do that when you get ahead on your work? Because I mean, obviously, I'm just gonna assume if you're getting ahead, like, you haven't been taught what you're doing. So how does that work for you?
yeah, so like the classes that I usually work ahead in, what some teachers have been doing is doing like pre-recorded lessons. So you can kind of work at your own pace with COVID and being at home. And we have international students too. So like every class is recorded if you want to go back and look at it. But I think like for me, if it's like, say it's like reading a chapter in a book, I can go read that chapter and answer questions and get ahead. But we have a lot of time in the day where we can go meet with our teachers and ask questions. So if it's really something that, I didn't really learn, then maybe I'll pause on that homework assignment and be like, hey, I'm not going to fake my way through this because I haven't learned this. So I'll go meet with the teacher and say, hey, like, I'm trying to get ahead. Is there something that I can go look at or document or I can read that I can kind of give me a boost into doing this early?
Yeah, I mean, like, sadly for me, I don't get that privilege. I go to like a big public school, so I can't really do that.
Yeah.
And my they made my school, at least for me, it's all online, and most kids that went back, like, they're all coming back home now too. So it's pretty much like didn't go well, but they made our online school like straight up normal school. So I'm on the computer. I have 4 classes a day, hour and a half each class, a 10-minute break between each class, and it's literally like normal school. So I don't really get like, I can't talk to teachers like that. But I think I like what you said. I try to like learn from these interviews too to benefit myself at least, and if anyone else
Yeah.
watches, a scenario like me, I like how you kind of said almost not defend for yourself, but I guess think about yourself where like I'm just trying to put myself in the best scenario possible. So if the teacher is like, no, just stay up this super late this night, like sorry, nothing I could do. It's like it's not really my fault. It's kind of on the teacher. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
as we kind of go away from that and talk more about basketball stuff. So I live here in South Florida, so I want to ask this question. But how did it feel when you got that offer from the University of Miami?
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool. I talked to a lot of local schools, so it's cool to kind of stretch out my range and get an offer from down south. But the cool thing about that is the connection with BABC. The person who runs the program, Leo Papil, is very close with Coach Larinaga and the staff down there. And we've sent a couple players there. We sent Bruce Brown there, and Matt Cross, who's there now, was just graduated from Brewster. So he played for BABC, and I've seen him play in that system and be successful. So just that was kind of our connection, was talking about how Coach Larinaga really likes the New England kids and their toughness and stuff like that. And I think that was just something that I've fallen in line to, and just kind of seeing that school, of that caliber and the opportunity that presents itself, going down south, just seeing that they kind of put their trust in me and gave me the offer was definitely exciting for me and my family.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Bruce Brown, man. He was well. I think he got injured, so I kind of forgot. Like wasn't a long time ago, but there's no way I can remember. His season's now. But I want to say he got like injured towards like his final season. But yeah, he was crazy. I remember that, man. That was those one times were good, man. When they I feel so nostalgic right now. Oh my gosh! But how is that coaching staff have been recruiting you?
Yeah, when they could, they would call me a lot. Coach Larinaga actually sends some pretty funny texts sometimes and links to tweets and stuff like that. And I think the cool thing about Miami is they have a lot of like pro connections with guys that train there and stuff like that. So he would kind of show me like who comes through some days and during the off season, and just kind of showing like the opportunities around the campus as well with being in such a beautiful place in Florida and stuff like that. And the assistant coach, Coach Caputo, he called me a lot, and he's a pretty funny guy too. He knew a lot of stories about Bruce Brown and stuff like that. So just kind of building a relationship with both of those guys was big.
Yeah, I have to admit the campus is pretty nice, and I don't know if you can share this, but you said Coach Jim Larinaga, a super funny guy. Can you maybe share the funniest thing he's told you?
Yeah, so actually on the call that they offered me, he told me a story about Bruce Brown and how they recruited him. So if I remember correctly, he said that they called Bruce Brown for a long time, and he was at Vermont Academy, and Bruce Brown didn't respond to a single one of the texts or calls ever. And I think it was right before he was ready to make his decision. He was like, he'd already got the offer from Miami, and he was like, hey. Bruce Brown called Larinaga, was like, hey, like, I'd like to come to Miami. And Coach Larinaga was like, what? Like, you haven't even, like, responded to my calls or texts. And he's like, yeah, I've been busy. There's no Wi-Fi, just, like, stuff like that. So I thought that was a pretty funny story. And then just seeing, like, the success that he had there, and, he really loved it there. So I think that was just cool how it went from, like, no communication to kind of being, like, a star.
Yeah, that honestly, that's pretty crazy. But imagine, also, I think the crazier part, because I know like schools, they have a certain amount of scholarships. I mean, I don't think this would have happened, but university, they could have been filled on scholarships, and he could have told them like, all right, like I'm gonna come in, and he could have been like, oh nope, sorry, or two, we're full now. I'm glad he came, but that definitely would have been a little bit funny there.
Yeah, no, I was laughing when he told that one.
Do you know Bruce Brown personally at all, or you just kind of, I guess, grew up seeing him play for the AAU team you're playing for now?
Yeah, I don't know him personally. I saw him play at Vermont Academy a couple of times, and I hear a lot of stories about him with Coach Leo and stuff like that. But I've seen Matt Cross play more than Bruce. But Bruce always comes back to Boston and works out there in the offseason. So I know like DeSante has played with him, I think, and stuff like that. But like Matt Cross is someone who I've seen a lot of games and seen him practice with BABC. So just picking up stuff off of that, what I would say was more relevant to me.
Yeah, definitely. That's dope. And I don't know. I'm. You may have answered the question already. With just I guess the coaching staff being kind of funny. But do you maybe have I guess favorite part about the about the University of Miami program so far?
Yeah, I mean, I would say they're in a really good league with the ACC, and they've had a lot of guys be successful in their system. Especially Bruce, first year starter, I think, with the Pistons. Just kind of having that platform where you can go there and build yourself and develop as a player, and also play in like a very competitive league. And then they're very supportive if you have dreams to go play overseas or play in the NBA, because they've done it so many times. So I think that was something that was pretty intriguing. And Coach Larinaga seems like a very caring and supportive coach.
Yeah, honestly, this is kind of bad to say, but he's been there around for a long time. Like he's gonna have to. I wonder when he's gonna retire. Honestly, I mean, I think he's been there for a while. But I kind of about the ACC being a great basketball conference. I was like thinking, I feel like they're not that good of a conference. I feel like it's Duke and UNC. Syracuse is like good sometimes, but I feel like it's just those two teams are good if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean they have like Louisville too and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, well yeah, but they're yeah, oh, and Virginia.
Yeah,
But
no, I think they're pretty good.
yeah, but would you say here what if I gave you the ACC, the Big East, and Big Ten, uh, if you can, could you rank those from 1 to 3?
No, I'm not gonna do that just because like I have offers from schools
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the conference. But I think they're all unique in their own way. I think they have characteristics that associate with them and stuff like that. And I think that the ACC just trends in their own direction, and so does the Big East, and so does the Big Ten. And kind of how they recruit and how they play and stuff like that.
yeah. Like I mean, like none of them are bad. Like it's all the top conferences in the country. But I know like my dad was like ACC best conference for basketball. I was like thinking about that thought, and I'm like I don't really know anymore. But so yeah, I was just trying to see. I was just trying to see about that. But I do understand where you are coming from, and I
Mm-hmm.
know you and Desante both do have offers from the University of Miami. Is there any chance that you guys potentially, maybe team up there in Miami?
Yeah, I think like teaming up isn't something that we kind of talk about, just because like people think like just because we're two stars and stuff like that, that like it's kind of a weird relationship in a way where it's like always basketball and stuff like that. But I think when it comes to it, like the kids who really know us, we're just kind of normal kids and have like normal teenage conversations and stuff like that. And we kind of keep like our recruitment stuff to ourselves in a way that's kind of respectful of each other. But it's definitely something that could be a possibility. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that like we kind of keep it separate. But if I could play with Sante, that would be awesome, no matter where it is. Because, like I said earlier, like we just complement each other, and you know, as we build in high school, I think that could carry on to the next level pretty smoothly.
And that's interesting what you said, how you guys don't talk about your recruitment because I'll never know what it feels like to be recruited from a college. But at least, like, I mean, I've been pretty much grinding this whole time. Like I haven't really talked to friends that often because I'm literally just staying on my grind pretty much.
Hmm.
But I used to be super chatty with my friends. But again, I'm just like focused. But if I do, like, I just can't not bring this up because I feel like this is so cool. Like talking to guys like this. So I just don't understand how if you're being recruited by colleges, how you just don't bring that up like, with each other. I mean, how's it even possible? That's just something super cool. Like how are you guys not able to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for like other people in their relationships, but I think me and Sante are both pretty humble kids, and we kind of understand that like we're gonna have different futures and different paths. Even though we're both successful in the same sport, and you know we kind of are known like countrywide by schools and stuff like that. I just think because we're kind of like ascending towards the same level, that our conversations just kind of, in a weird way, it's almost like we're always being like bombarded with questions about schools and like, where do you want to go, what do you want to do, blah blah. It's kind of refreshing just to sit back and have like a normal kid conversation with another kid who's going through the same thing and be like, hey, like I know, let's not talk about schools, like how your class is going, or stuff like that, or like, what are you working on in the gym. So just kind of keeping it real with each other.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you said that, because you said like you enjoy having like a normal conversation with him, but in the back of the mind, like both you guys know that we're both going through the same process in a way. So I feel like it's almost like you're not like talking about it, but I guess you kind of know it's going on. That's what kind of makes it so special. I think I find that like super.
No, yeah, it's definitely a cool feeling, and that's one of the reasons why I like to get in the gym with him, because we're both just trying to get better, but we know, like, in the back of the mind, like, we look across the court and we say like a kid that's kind of has the same opportunity as I do. So it's just kind of like that second nature, where it's like we're both gonna like be a big deal someday, something like that, but in like the most humble way possible, but just kind of keeping it to ourselves.
And you said, I mean, you keep touching on how humble you are, and you even said like you don't like hyping yourself up. Even when you did choose to reclass, I mean, you could have made that a super big deal
Mm-hmm.
on yourself, but instead you just made it super simple on that stuff, and you don't really hype up your offers too much or anything like that. Just how have you just been able to stay humble, and why have you kind of chose to go that route with just all the success coming at you every day?
Yeah, something that I always think about is I see the offers that people have gotten, and I was that kid who was kind of looking at those one day and be like, wow, like it'd be cool to have those, and now I have some pretty substantial ones myself, but I realized that like the offers themselves, they don't make you a better basketball player just because you have that that wording around your name, stuff like that. It's not going to make you make more shots or play better defense. So I just think that like you have to stay focused on your game, and being a good person, and kind of it's easy for that kind of stuff to float into your mind and change who you are. But like one of the things that my high school coach always says is like, don't ever change, and don't ever let anything change you. Because like offers and stuff like that isn't something that we really have control over, but we have control over like our basketball ability and skills and stuff like that.
Definitely. And my final question for you is, what are you trying to accomplish by the time you graduate high school?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start with the classroom. I would say right now I'm like an all A's and B's student, so if I could finish out my academic career with that, would be awesome. Because at some point the ball stops bouncing, and you got to face the real world and get some jobs. So I think having a good transcript and grades and like a common sense built into it would be pretty helpful. And I think by the end of my high school basketball career, it's hard to say right now, just because like I don't even know we'll have a season and stuff like that. But like I said earlier, win the championship and many of those like as I can would be big. And whether it's committing or choosing the right school, or making like a top 100 list or something like that. I mean, that stuff's cool and all, but it's just kind of, if I'm not where I want to be at the end of the day, then that's what I would care about the most as far as like my game, because I want to feel comfortable that not just committing is good, but when I actually get to campus, I'm ready to go. So I think putting myself in that position by the end of high school is the biggest deal.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And before we end the show, is there anything you want to plug or anybody you want to shout out?
I mean, I guess I'll shout out DeSante, just because we talked about it a lot, and it's one of my good friends. No, but other than that, we're good.
All right, sounds good. Well, anyways, make sure you guys give us a follow on Instagram at TJPower33. Not iHoopsFL. Anyways, I mean, appreciate your time, man, for coming on. Wish you best of luck this season, if there is one. But anyways, for 2023, for 2023 Worcester Academy forward TJ Power, I'm Isaac Fleischer, and this has been another iHoopsFL interview. Peace out, guys.